Hi, everyone, and welcome to season 3 of Making Needed Moves. As most of you know, I am your host, Giovanna Rosales, here at Making Needed Moves. And also, as most of you know, season 3 is one of my favorite seasons thus far because of the fact that it is very personal to me. We are focusing on women's chronic conditions and how they are thriving within their businesses, within their personal life, within their business life, still having these chronic conditions and or medical illnesses. Just a disclaimer before we get any further, neither myself nor my guest Felicita are medical professionals. We are just having a conversation on how we personally manage our chronic conditions and or disabilities. So please seek medical and professional help if you do not feel well or if you yourself believe that you might have a medical condition. On today's show, I am so excited to have Felicita Sandoval with us. She is my new friend. We just connected, I believe, about a month ago, and we have been chatting nonstop. And so, right when you're learning to meet someone or getting to know someone, it just la charla happens. And so that's when you open up and you're able to be yourself. And so come to find out, we both suffer from chronic illnesses. So I figured let's not only have you on here talking about your professional life, but let's also go ahead and have you speaking on your journey and your experiences living with your chronic condition. Before we get started, just want to let you know who Felicita is. She is a highly accomplished professional driven by a deep passion for technology. With an innate curiosity for cybersecurity, she embarked in a remarkable academic and professional growth journey. As a security GRC, which also stands for Governance, Risk, and Compliance Analyst, she diligently ensures adherence to industry regulations and best practices, employing her broad knowledge of security risk assessment and compliance frameworks to fortify cybersecurity infrastructures. So, not one for the faint at heart, people. Felicita has it going on. She is also a doctoral student who is deeply engaged in researching global ethical considerations in artificial intelligence for her thesis. Her ultimate goal is to attain expertise in AI global accountability, equipping her to assist organizations in establishing comprehensive global AI frameworks for the responsible management of consumer data, thereby fostering client trust. And that's actually how me and Felicita ended up connecting, was through AI as well as cybersecurity. So our fascination and interest as well as curiosity within tech in general. And last but not least, she is passionate about diversity and inclusivity within the cybersecurity field. Felicita co-founded Latinas in Cyber, an organization committed to empowering women and supporting individuals seeking careers in cybersecurity. Through this groundbreaking initiative, she was provided aspiring professionals with invaluable resources, mentorship, and guidance, contributing to developing a more diverse and representative workforce. And I will say I am part of the Latinas in Cybersecurity community, and I myself am getting my course certification. So thank you so much for being able to offer that to us, Felicita. I'm so excited for you to have it for us in the future. And again, we'll talk more all about that later on. But again, without further ado, you are here. Welcome. Bienvenida. I'm Making Needed Moves. I know I talked a lot about you professionally, but we're here to get your story on your journey with being diagnosed with Sjogren Syndrome. And I just wanted to know, how did you become aware of having this type of medical condition? And as a matter of fact, what is it specifically? I've never heard of it until you told me about it. And I'm pretty sure most of our listeners probably don't know. So if you could just run us through our journey and what that looks like and what that entails.
Yes, thank you, Giovanna. First of all, thank you for having me here. Estoy muy contenta.
Yay!
Yes, I'm very excited to be here with you. And yes, there are many chronic illnesses out there, too many to count. And that's why a lot of people, when you mention one, they have never heard of it before, because a lot of them have similar symptoms, but they attack differently. Sjogren syndrome is an autoimmune disorder, and it attacks your eye ducts. So it makes your eyes very, very dry, your saliva, and it gives you a lot of the effects are um, brain fog,
Mm-hmm.
chronic fatigue, a lot of dizziness, lack of concentration, as well as lack of balance. So there is a lot of difficult effects that can really put it can make our lives difficult, especially in our careers and in our personal lives. So it's a very tough um, chronic illness. I You wanted to know how I got this, how I found out.
Yeah, like how was your diagnosis? Like for me, right? I've shared with my experience. It took me 20 years to finally be diagnosed by a PCP. But even before that, I always knew that there was something different about me. And so I just wanted to hear your journey because some of our listen or some of the people who have been here in the past have also like 18 years, 15 years. And I feel like the range is always 10 plus years before you even get one, a diagnosis, and then two, the correct diagnosis.
You are absolutely right. That is a common theme around people that suffer from autoimmune disorders. Mine, I didn't find out until 7 years later. And before I found out, I remember being very sick.
Mhm.
I could barely do things in my home or things in my at my job when I was at that time. It was a very difficult to handle, and every single doctor that I will go, specialist that I will go, it was so tough because either they didn't know really what was going on with me. They'll do so many blood tests. They'll run so many blood tests. They
Right.
will tell me, oh, maybe it's your weight, you have to lose weight, or maybe is you have a virus, and they will give me antibiotics. And that was like the whole thing for like 7 years.
Oh
It
my
would have
goodness.
been longer, yes, like it would have been longer. However, I took it upon myself. The last from the 7 years, I think year 5, I
Mhm.
remember that I started kind of taking like steps forward for myself to actually find out what I had by picking out specialists, by changing my food. I have to do something. So I started
Mhm.
researching a lot, and I changed the way I ate. I remember that I changed the way I ate. I started exercising a little bit more, even though this illness had already attacked like my muscles. So I get so much chronic fatigue just by doing a workout that I will have to be bedridden for like a week or two.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yes, so it's very hard to like do a hard workout. So I started learning how to implement walking in the morning, walking in the evening, doing light exercises. Because at the end, I feel for myself, there's no excuse to not exercise. I just cannot overdo it. So I started
Mhm.
learning those little things by researching,
Mhm.
and it helped me a lot. However, I still didn't know what I had. And on year 7, I was feeling a little bit better, but I was still very sick. And I already had all of this, I had my career in mind because I was about to graduate from my master's at that time.
Mhm.
I was so worried about my future. So I finally found a rheumatologist that when he saw all my blood tests, I remember I sat down, I was very nervous, and he read all of the blood tests and all of the notes that the previous doctors have left there. And he told me, I think I already know what you have. That was a shock because I never expected for someone to be like reading my my blood test and say, hey, you know what, I think I know what you have. So I was excited.
Mhm.
And the reason why I was excited, because nobody's excited about having an autoimmune disorder, but in the sense of knowing what you have, that is exciting because you spend so many years lost thinking, what, maybe it's me, maybe it's true, maybe I'm crazy.
Yes.
So that's what you start thinking, maybe I'm crazy, I'm imagining all of this. But he told me I'm gonna do a few blood tests and we'll see. And I remember it was like 15 vials of blood, and I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna. This is the end of me. I'm never gonna survive past this. But no, thank God it wasn't that way. He came back with the results, and he's like, okay, yes, it is indeed Sjogren syndrome.
Mhm.
He explained it to me, and then we went forward to how to like continue my life with the disorder without feeling like I wasn't gonna live long or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think I want to just reiterate how it's such a complex type of emotion because I know exactly what you mean by when you finally got the diagnosis. When I got the diagnosis, it was literally the same thought. I'm not crazy. I don't belong like I do belong here, right? Because there's points in your life where you're like, is it just me? And is it really me being mental? Is it me being exagerada? Is it me really not having pain tolerance? I mean, the gaslighting that happens when you do go to PCPs that don't really show interest or care, OBGYN, same thing. You're almost like, it's me. This is on me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you finally get that diagnosis, it's almost the validation that you didn't know you needed. And you don't need a validation. I just want to make that clear. But it's almost like you
Mm-hmm.
can breathe and you feel tranquila because you aren't psychotic or you're not insane, you're not crazy. It wasn't just you. It wasn't you those 5, 7 years. It wasn't just me those 20 years. There was actually something going on, and someone with a medical degree was finally able to give me the label that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so with you now, you're able to know how you're going to move forward. And yes, there may not be an end all be all cure, but at least you now know how to move forward. So when you finally did get the diagnosis, how was that? How was that? Like you said, like you were excited, but how else did you feel like a big weight lifted off of you? Did you feel some type of relief during and then after that doctor's visit once you finally got the diagnosis?
I felt so good. I felt like I gained a new life.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I dramática, soy una dramática, but it's just that I felt so good. I was like, finally, I'm able to know what I have in order for me to find out what can I do, because that was the whole thing. I just wanted to know, okay, if I know what I have, I can find out, okay, what is it that I have to do to get better and to continue with my goals, because I have so many goals in life. So
Exactly.
finally, when he told me, I felt very, very, very good. And I started changing my life even more. I said, okay, if I'm getting another opportunity, knowing what I have, I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to change my lifestyle. I'm going to pursue anything that I'm passionate about. I'm going to pursue it no matter what. Because when you're in the, like when you're close to thinking, even if it's dramatic, but as that you're thinking that you may are not gonna like last, that you're gonna pass away,
Yeah.
you know, you start thinking that way. When you are told, hey, no, this is what you have, what you can do to live longer, your life changes. At least for me, it changed my life. I was like, okay, no, I'm going to take every single opportunity that I have and enjoy every second that I have in my life to do everything I love with my family, with the job that I like, with whatever hobbies I like. Um, so I started changing my life in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I want to actually say something very important. The first thing I started thinking, besides better lifestyle regarding to exercise, was stress.
Mm-hmm.
So stress is a big factor in most of these autoimmune disorders, and I would dare to say, I think all of them.
Yes.
Um, you have to make sure that you manage stress, and that's what I did. I started pursuing the career that I wanted, because when you're doing something that you're not into, because I know all of us need a job to pay our bills, but when you do something that you love, it's no longer completely about that. It's
Mm-hmm.
also about you're enjoying what you're doing, and you enjoy the people that are surrounding you, and you get excited and curious. So I decided I am going to start doing that. I'm going to start pursuing the career that I feel like I want. I started kind of thinking also in my home, what stresses me out that has a solution that I don't need to be stressed out about. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
me, I don't like dishes in the sink. I
I
don't.
feel that.
I don't. I will break the moment I use them. Yes, like I can't. But I remember I used to be like always fighting, like, why are you leaving dishes on the sink? Why are you leaving dishes? And I remember that day when, or those days when I was actually changing and getting and kind of changing my life. I remember there was a dish there, and I was like, you know what? If I'm not here tomorrow, that dish is still gonna be there. So why am I complaining?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought either I wash it or I leave it there and they wash it, and I just continue on with my life. Like those little things, I know that's small, but it really helped me to not stress out about little things that don't make sense. And then I started progressing with work. I was like, I want to be part of this. And if I wanted to be part of something and I wasn't able to be part of it at that moment, instead of stressing, I just started thinking, you know what? It's okay. That means that I still need to prepare more to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just moved on with everything else that I was doing. And you know what? A few weeks later, a few months later, they're always calling me, hey, you know what? I want you to be part of this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So things do happen. Stress is a big thing. I recommend everyone to actually start looking at your life in your professional career and in your home and start kind of cutting down those stresses that don't make sense. If you have a solution, get rid of it.
I love that you bring this up because I just finished giving a workshop on acknowledging burnout, which a lot of it has to do with stress, major factor, but it's all different types of stress. It's you're stressing your professional life, it's stressing your personal life, it's stress with even within your self-care routine, right? Because like if you didn't get it done, if I didn't do my mantras today or my affirmations,
Mhm.
like shit's gonna go haywire. I already know, right? But it's great that you were able to come back, take the time to rest, take the time to breathe and be like, you pause and you became very self-aware of este plato, si yo me muero
Mhm.
mañana, it's whether or not I'm here or not here, it's still going to be there. And what am I going to get out of my life to stress out about? What is the gain of me stressing out of this? Nothing. I'm going to have a flare up. I'm not
Mhm.
going to be able to get out of bed. It's going to take me longer to recoup from the flare up. So, what am I really stressed out about? And so, it's kind of almost taking back what I was talking about in the workshop today was stop putting those expectations on yourself. And these are internal expectations sometimes that we're brought up with, like the dirty dishes, or your hamper can only be half full because if not, what are you doing?
Mhm.
Or not making the bed right before you get up. That's a shout out to my mom with her OCD. But I tell her like, Mama, nothing is going to happen. It is okay. And the fact that I love that for you, that you were able to be very self-aware and realize I'm not going to let this hinder my progress. I'm not going to let this hinder my happiness. And I'm not going to let this hinder my stress level. I have control over my stress level. Y esto no va a ser uno de los puntos. That's amazing. It takes people a long time to get there. And so I'm really happy you were able to get there.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a major impact in your life
Mhm.
to be able to realize that. I wish that more people will be able to come to that realization before an impact, but hey, I take it. I'll take it anytime because it has really changed my life.
Yeah. Well, yes, we're reiterating it and we're just making it very clear. Please do not stress out on the dirty dishes or the laundry or your bed not made because it is not worth the flare ups and the recovery time.
True.
So now talking about that, for your approach, because we've had different diagnoses come in. Some women do take a medicational route, some women take a holistic approach, and then some of our folks here take an in between. What does your journey look like for you with your syndrome?
I have taken actually a holistic approach.
Mhm.
Medication for me, I think I have considered only whenever I feel like it's there is no more, like the holistic approach is not helping me anymore.
Mhm.
But it's been a great experience changing my diet because before, when I would talk to doctors before my diagnosis and they would say, hey, if you maybe it's your weight, it wasn't completely my weight. And at that time I would get furious that they would say that, but then after
Of course.
learning, yeah, it's everybody will say the same thing. However, when I started kind of changing my lifestyle, it's not that that's the only thing that's going to help you, because even if you lose the weight to be more healthier, you're still going to have Sjogren syndrome no matter what. But it did help, and I started kind of realizing what they were talking about.
Mhm.
And it's not about being skinny or being big or being tall or short. It's not about that. It's about being healthier and eating the right foods. You can
Mhm.
still eat what you enjoy, but in little quantities. And I never saw that as a way of life until I started doing it myself. And
Mhm.
so I changed my eating habits. I lost a lot of weight, and it has helped a lot. I still get flares, but it's less than before, way less than before. So that kind of shocked me. I was like, whoa, okay, that's a learning lesson for me. I was upset when they would tell me that, but I understand now.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think that's also there. That's something that the medical industry has to work on is don't automatically tell me to lose weight because that's not, it's never, it's like 99.9% of the time, that's not the end all be all.
mhm.
And if you're coming to me like from a BMI perspective, I'm never going to be where you want me to be. But if you're telling me this is going to decrease my flare ups or this enhances your flare-ups, then it makes sense to me, right? So like, for example, with me, during certain parts of the month, I just can't have I can't, it's not really healthy for me to have acidic food. So limon, oranges, just because of the acidity affects my body. So I know in 1 week I can't have it. And then they want me to supplement it more with omega-3, so more fish based instead of red meat. Okay, all this makes sense to me because of the minerals, the nutrients, and the vitamins that I'm getting, that I'm receiving, and that I'm intaking. But for you to just be like, lose weight, it's not like, that's not okay. And so I'm glad you were able to step back and see that for yourself. But a lot of people, because I'm with you, like I always walk in and rate, like sometimes I'll even tell them, I'm not here to get weighed. We are here to see what the progress is. We are not here to see whether I lost weight or not. So I will not be stepping on a scale. And you do have that right.
True. No, you're absolutely right. That's one of the things that will upset me the most, that it was only, hey, you have to lose weight. And it was never like, well, losing weight is going to help you. However, these are the effects that you will also have. Or, even if you lose weight, you will still have your issue. No, it was just always like lose weight. So that was very upsetting. But I am glad for my doctor, the rheumatologist, who actually found out that I had Sjogren syndrome. And he was able to actually finally tell me, I guess it's what I wanted to hear, but I never told him what I wanted to hear. So I'm glad that he actually said that to me. He said, hey, if you help yourself with your weight, with your vitamins, if you help with reducing stress, this is going to help you a lot in your life, but you're still going to have Sjogren syndrome. I was like, wow, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. That is the truth.
It was a realist answer. It was the truthful answer. Like, it will help you. However, it's not going to get rid of everything. And I don't think doctors explain it enough. It's lose weight, you'll get better. And that's not the approach at all, because that's just setting all of us to fail. Okay, so other than your dietary restrictions and or intake, what else is more of your holistic approach?
The holistic approach also is I take a lot of walks. That has helped me tremendously, not only to relax my body and my mind, to exercise as well. That has helped a lot of relaxation. And because meditation, some people do it, and I admire that. I'm not very good at meditating, but I find walking to be a meditating, a sort of meditation.
I was going to say, that sounds like another just form of meditation.
Yeah. Clear my mind. I'm like, no, I have too many things. But I did that. I also took the approach of my taking a job that I will work from home, that is remote work. That does help a lot, because if at any time, because when you have an autoimmune disorder, you do need to rest sometimes. So if at any time I feel with low energy, then I'm able to take a 15-20 minute nap, relax, rest, and then come back. And once I do that, I'm able to kind of feel energized again and continue my work. So that helped tremendously as well. And also spend time with my family or with those that you love. That actually helps a lot, because you stop thinking about your health and you start thinking of other things, whatever you want to do with them, like go out. I usually go out with my nieces or go out with my mom, and just really take my mind away from what's going on if I'm not feeling well. I think that I do highly recommend that to people, is to actually do not only spend time with your family, also have a hobby. Have a hobby. That's
hard. That's hard.
Yeah.
As you have your 9 to 5 in addition to having the Latinas in cybersecurity and all the other projects that you're working on with your thesis and being the scholar. How do you, like you were saying, you find a hobby? How do you find the time or manage the time to throw that in there? Because
I'm all over
like me. I'm like, that sounds great, but
I'm all over the place. I'm one of those who gets excited about a hobby. I do it for 3 months, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna do something else now. So but I do find the time. Sometimes I do it in the weekends, or I do it after, in the pockets of time. Maybe today, for example, is not a day that I do homework. I usually always take one day of the week to not even touch school, so that I can relax, because that is overwhelming as well. It's a lot of work. So that the time that I would use to study that day, like an hour or two, I would actually do just a hobby. I either paint, acrylic. I'm
Ooh.
not a painter, but it's, I just do it for fun.
Yeah.
I'll go for I'll go to the, you know what? I love going to the mall and looking at things, everything, window shopping. That kind of relaxes me, and it's exciting to actually see things that I want, but I'm not gonna get. Not because I can't, but because it's like I'm not gonna spend money on that. But I just love
That
window.
also sounds like you got your budget on point, because
Yes,
like some
yes.
of us, I try to avoid certain stores at all costs because I'm like, I cannot restrain myself. So the fact that you can, kudos to you, girl.
Yeah, no. I cannot. Sometimes I want something so bad, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. But that's because I've always been actually controlling my savings and my budget. But that's another thing, actually. Now that you mentioned that, I know that it's everybody's financial situation is different,
Mhm.
and we all have struggles. That's one of the things one of the first things, together with my exercise and my food, was that I started getting my financials straight, everything, to the point, and luckily I was able to do it to the point. It took me a while, but to the point that there was no debt, right?
Mm.
You'll still have the debt of the car and the mortgage and stuff like that, but I made sure that everything was clear, so I didn't have to be stressed about, because we all know that besides work or family, the biggest stressor is money.
Mm.
Money ruins your life.
Yeah.
So I made sure that was one of the things that I did. Once I cleared that up, believe it or not, I felt so much relaxed that I didn't have to think of like, oh my God, I have this big payment and how am I going to pay these cards? But like, I'll just tell everyone, I know it's different for everyone. It takes a very, very long time to get to the point where you don't even have any card debt or anything like that, but it will help you tremendously if you're able to do it.
Yeah, that's funny because I was thinking about. I'm already thinking about the other seasons that are going to take place, and that might be a good thing. Season 4, I kind of already have fine tuned of how I would like it to be, but season 5, like literally talking about the money stressors and how that impacts your life, and whether you want to believe it or not, daily, right? Like there's certain things that you're just like, oh no, I can't do, or you restrict, or you indulge too much because you're like, I'm already in the red, I'm gonna go YOLO anyway. And so that might be something really good to bring up, like how to be able to manage stress when being able to confront finances, because just confronting them alone is scary.
Oh,
I know it. Yeah, every time I do the monthly budget, and every time I'm like, girl, like, who are you playing?
oh yeah.
But it ends up always like, I'm like, I don't give myself enough credit. Like, you did a great job, or you only went over like $50 this month. Like, yo, that's a win. You didn't go over how you used to back in the day. So yeah, that's a really interesting topic, and I would love to deep dive into that, because I honestly, money has always been my number one stressor. It hasn't even been family for me. But I guess maybe because I don't have children or a partner on that level. If I did, it probably would be like that. But no, money's always been my number one stressor, and
Yep.
that's like a very good point. If you kind of have a plan, I'm not even saying be debt free, but if you have a plan on how to manage your money and have a budget on where your money's going to go, it can definitely bring down your stress a lot. That's what I know. That's what keeps my um money scarcity at bay, is like being able to have the budget, look at it, review it, change it, edit it if I need to, and not feel ashamed about it if I do go over a few bucks a
Mhm.
month. So that's great. I love these tips and tricks. Felicita, now, right, again, you have your corporate job, you are in school now, getting your doctorate's degree, you have the co-founding of Latinas in Cybersecurity, in addition to your hobbies, in addition to the walks and the naps. There has to be a time, obviously, as you know, with the autoimmune disease, that there was a challenge that came up and you either couldn't hack it, or it just wasn't part of you. We on the episode we don't like to call that failures. We like to call those reframes. So where was a point in your journey or your experience where you did have a quote unquote fail? Let's say it wasn't able to meet with a client, you didn't get to that deadline, whether it's at school or your professional job. What was that like for you? How did that feel? And how are you able to reframe it from this isn't a fail, this is an experience, and this is what I've learned, and this is what I'm going to take forward with me?
Yeah, I mean, I could think of a particular situation before my current position that I have now. Um, I remember that I was so sick, and I didn't know yet that I had Sjogren Syndrome. I was so sick that I couldn't really work for a while. I was bedridden. I was, it was, I'm not a person that gets depressive at all. If I'm depressed, I'll let it, I'm like, oh, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be depressed for 10 minutes, and then you're going to come back and do, I don't let myself be depressed for long. However, for some reason, I was just so sick that I got depressed. I didn't know how I was gonna come back, and I felt like, like I was like a failure. I know that's not the word, but I
Right.
felt like, because I've always been, everything in my life besides my family is my work. I love working. I don't think I can ever stop. And I felt like I failed my team, and I failure. And they will always be so positive with me, like, hey, Felicita, it's okay. You should take your time off, and they will give me the time off. However, I still felt like I wasn't helping anyone because I was in bed and I wasn't recuperating, and that was a hard thing for me. And since then, after I started changing my life, I told myself I never want to go through that again. And in order for me to never go back through that kind of situation, I need to change my life. I
Mhm.
need to get better, because I never want to have to fail anyone. And that's actually my biggest fear. And that's why I worked so much on it. And finally, I was able to get into a place that I was able to get back to work. And then after that, my coworkers were, great with me at that time. They were very understanding. But I had failed multiple times actually through the years. Not only that jobs previously to that, because I just didn't know what I had. So I didn't know how to control it. I hadn't changed my diet yet. I hadn't changed my lifestyle. So it was more like I had a flare, and the flare would last 3 months. So I have to be leave of absence. And the flare
Mhm.
would last 6 months. So I will have to go to work, but be sick. And, even you have like the ambulance go in and get me. And I was just like, this is so embarrassing. I don't know what's going on. But I changed my life, and I started getting better. Now, the last time that I ever had this issue, I remember that I was working in Latinas in Cyber, and I got very sick as well. And I was already I already knew what I had. I was changing my lifestyle, I was getting better, and I needed some time to get back on my feet
Mhm.
in regards to health. And that's when I learned communication.
Mm.
Before that, I learned how to like take care of myself, the exercise, the diet, like I have mentioned. However, I still hadn't had the communication part down to the T that I have it now. So I just said, hey, I need some time away. They knew that I was gonna be away, and then I was away for a while, and then I came back. And one thing that I learned at that time is you need to learn how to communicate with people. If you're
Mhm.
not feeling well and you need some time off, you're gonna have to state it clearly. Hey, I am not feeling well. I am going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. I have to be completely transparent with them so they understand what's going on. Because if I just say, hey, I don't feel well, I can do this. I don't know when I'm gonna be back. Like, then they don't understand what's going on. They don't know what you have. People that know you, they know who you are. But people that don't may start thinking of you as this person is not reliable.
Mhm.
This person is not going to be able to do the job. So in order for they cannot help it. You cannot help people thinking that. So the
Right.
best way to do it is communicating. Communicate with your team. Communicate with your friends, with your family members. Tell them exactly what's happening and how long you're going to be gone. So after I started learning communication and how to get this in place and how to get myself back on track perfectly to the point that now I haven't had an incident in so long, a flare. I have small flares, one
Mhm.
day, few hours, maybe two, but it's not that bad. And I'm so thankful for that. But that is because of everything I've learned,
Mhm.
including communication.
I think to me, what I've also heard with your experiences is learning how to have compassion for yourself. Because in the beginning, it sounded like, oh, I felt like a failure to myself, to my team. Even though they knew I had an autoimmune disease, I still felt like a failure. And then at this point, it has nothing to do with you. it's your body, and that's just the way it is, and you have to learn how to manage it. And you it's highs and lows, it's consistent highs and lows. But not during that time off when you were learning how to communicate, it also sounded like you were able to be compassionate with yourself and learn to tell yourself it's okay to let people in. It's okay to let them know I might be gone this amount of time. It's okay for me to not be at my best all the time. It's okay for me to not mask, be transparent, and let them know, hey, I'm human. I'll be back. However, I do need this time to be able to be back.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. And, during that time, and now that you mentioned that, that's when I also learned that you cannot be so harsh on yourself. Like everything that you said is just the same thing as that. And that is something that I actually took to Latinas in Cyber when I help out the individuals who want to be enter into cybersecurity and they want to have a career in cybersecurity. I always have a section that I talk to them about. Don't be so harsh on yourself. And it's exactly how you communicated earlier, which is that you need to understand that sometimes you're going to have obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have flares if it's in your health, it's a health situation, or if it's work, you're going to have an obstacle on getting that job. But it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. You just have to work harder in order to get there. So definitely.
Yeah. And learn that your pace is your pace. Don't be comparing or competing me with you or other Latinas in cybersecurity within that community, within that network. We all have different deliverables. We all have different skills. We all have different capabilities because each of us has a different work and home balance. So your pace is okay. There is no, and I feel like that's kind of what we're trying to break with society is like, there is no rat race to completion. It's just your pace and your time and how your body and your mind are able to get you there. And like you were saying, it may be a little more challenging for me. There might be a little more obstacles because two weeks out of the month, 2 weeks out of 4, I'm not at my best. So I can't perform at my best, but I can't be upset with myself because that's just the way my body is. And so the self-acceptance, the not being so harsh on yourself, the self-compassion, I feel once you're able to accept all that, it almost gets you there faster because you're not sitting there like, why me? Like, why am I having a hard time? Why is Felicita able to get this in the first shot? Like, why is she not, like, I'm behind on schoolwork? Why is she not behind? Why is she ahead of the curve and not me? Like, you don't have time for that because your body is different and my body is different. And once I can accept that, it's almost like, oh, I'm moving a lot faster because I know how I need to function for myself. And Felicita knows how she needs to function for herself. Even though we're in the same program, we're both going to complete it, but different times because different bodies and different personalities need different things.
That's true. And as soon as people realize this, you're going to have a better time with yourself and with your accomplishments. Because like, exactly what you said happened to me.
I love that.
Oh, no, yeah. Like before, I remember that I used to be like the same way. Oh, how is she doing so much better than me if she started after me? Or how can this person, get this position if I've been studying longer? And once that was out of the door, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to be happy for everyone. And if I can, and I build a relationship with that person that I'm admiring right now, then I'll just learn from them and we'll work together. And that's what I've done since then. Like, every woman, every man that tells me, hey, I've done this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. Hey, I've been wanting to do that. And now they tell me that as well. Like, hey, I want to do that as well, Felicita, So as long as you see it as a positive and instead of, because it's a human reaction that you feel a little bit hurt, like, I can't believe this person got it. Turn it into a positive action. Let me cheer them up. Let me be excited for them and let me learn from that.
Yeah.
That's the best way. You're going to feel so much happier because you're bringing light into your life.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And just to add to that, right, we're just adding at this point to this conversation, but adding on to that, not like when you ask them for help, now you don't have to go through all of the mistakes that they made. And you're probably avoiding certain mistakes or which mistakes equal time. So now because they've been able to pave the road, let's say, it's a little easier for you because it might not be a smooth concrete road, but it's still a road, whether it's a dirt road or concrete road, like it's still going to be there. So there, and I feel like 9 times out of 10, people are more willing than not to help you out. Like, oh
Yep.
my God, this is what I was thinking of too. Or like, like, oh my God, I'm also taking this course. Great, let's set up a study group. Great, let's do this. And so that's how your community grows and your network grows, and opportunity then in the future grows for you. Because
Yeah.
study groups ends up being accelerator groups, which end up all getting hired. And if Fulanito got hired at such and such, then he can get him, like she can get her, right? And vice versa. So it's just all a win-win scenario. And I think you're absolutely right. Like as soon as you're able to accept the capabilities, like use everyone else's strong points to your advantage.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
love
and help each other out. And one thing that I will always say is make sure, because yes, there is a few negative people around. You always
that.
gonna have. It's always gonna happen. I don't think it's most people. I just think it's a few people.
Mm-hmm.
People have to learn. I learned this, and I wish that everyone learns it. Is just walk away. If there is a person who is too negative that you can even tell and you feel it, like this person is either envious of you or they just don't want you to succeed or they don't even care about you. They just want to talk negativity.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to bring back negativity to them. It's just like walk away. Hey, it was nice meeting you. I have a call or I have to go real quick. I
Yeah.
always do that. Every time that I see someone that it's being, hateful or they're kind of like thinking that they're better and they're trying to make me small, I'm always like, oh, it was nice talking to you. I really have a call. I have to go. I always do that in order for me to get out of that situation and not come back to it. Because if you stay there and then you start like then getting in the same level as them, then are you better? No, you're not better. Now you're just getting in the same level as that person and being negative as well.
That's true. So now you're engulfing in that negative energy, probably that scarcity that they have, that fear that they have. So yeah, like the sooner you can walk away from it, the better. I love it.
Yeah. And it's not saying that you have to not defend yourself. In the situations that you have to defend yourself it's a different
Right.
thing. Talking about when you have to defend yourself, it's just that you're having an argument or a conversation with someone and then you have a point and they have a point. That's different. That's not being negative, and that person is not being negative. You just don't agree, so you're trying to get into a resolution. That is a different thing than having someone negative telling you things. That's totally another way.
Yes, yes, I agree. We're here for standing up, but we're not here for las malas vibras. That's for
Yeah.
sure. So we had talked about community, being transparent, being communicative. How was it when you finally let your community and your network know about your autoimmune disease once you were able to find out? Were they embracive? Were they supportive? Were they a little apprehensive? Were they kind of like, I don't understand what's happening? Yeah, walk us through that.
I saw a big change because before when I didn't know what I had, either, like people that were close to me, friends, community, the community itself, they will think like, oh, maybe she's just being lazy or she's always complaining or she's just whining because she doesn't feel well. And I don't blame them because they don't know what you have. So, and if you're most of the time like, hey, I need to go take a break or I need to go take a nap in my car, obviously people are going to think, they say, what is wrong with her? But once I finally found out and I told those close ones to me, like, hey, this is what's happening. Actually, after all this time, it's Sjogren syndrome, and I explained it to them. They actually felt pretty bad, and they were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Everything that we said, I can't believe it. A lot of people told me similar things, and I said, it's okay, I don't blame you. But now your job is to educate yourself on this and understand that if other people come to you and they are not feeling well, it's not that they want to be lazy or they're whining. It's just that they're not feeling well. And you need to
Yeah.
understand them and actually have a place for them to at least sit down and relax. And so most of the people that I know that were with me before and now after have completely changed their ways. They never question me, and I don't even see them question other people
Mhm.
that have a situation. It has changed tremendously, and I think it's because of that. There is a lack of education around having an autoimmune disorder or an illness, and I understand a lot of people are going to assume things, but if you educate them, I think that that's going to actually change their perspective. But also, never, as a person who has the illness, you don't stress about those people kind of like thinking differently of you. they just don't know. It's not their fault. It doesn't mean they're bad people. They just don't understand it.
That's actually a very good point, because I know when I had told my dad about my condition, he was supportive, but he didn't understand what was happening. I think up to this day, he doesn't understand what's happening. But like, I'll tell him like, oh, this week is not my feel good well week. And so he already knows that my energy level is going to be down. My emotional state is going to be high. I will have wrath 1 second and then like love bombing the next. So he knows that, right? And I love the fact that you said, you know, sometimes you have to put it on them and be like, now it's your turn to get a little bit more educated, because I, as the sick person, don't want to be talking about this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be repeating myself all the time, especially with your close, and I'm talking about your close-knit community.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to remind my dad all the time. Like, this is what PMDD is. We've been through this. This is month 8 now that we know I have this. I don't need to tell you about this. So I think that's a really, really great point, is like, even though he didn't understand, he was supportive, but now this can be his chance to educate himself a little more, because I don't want to be educating all the time. Because like, as you were saying, when you're with your families and your loved ones, like you get, it's almost like you forget about what you have, right? I mean, you know, it's still there, but they bring a different type of like sazon into your life. So you don't always want to be thinking about it. So I don't always want to be talking about it, especially if I have to remind you all the time. So I like the fact that you brought in an educational type of spin to it, because I think I'm going to have to sit him down with like a book and be like, I need you to read this. And then give me a synopsis of what you just read, my good sir. And then there's just some people that they're not going to understand, or they're not willing to understand.
Yep.
And that's neither here nor there. It's just now it's out in the open. And so they know that they can no longer, like you were saying, like, why are you being so lazy? Why do you got to go take a nap in your car? Why are you escaping to your car? Like, they can't say that anymore, because they know that there's a disease. Now, whether or not they want to educate themselves more and support you more on that, that's up to them. But you've already done your job and you've completed your task.
Yeah. And that's part of the healing process that I believe also helped me, that I did, is once everyone kind of knew, once everyone knew, actually, I felt like I was finally able to heal by not talking about it anymore. If I come back, I'll be, hey guys, I'll be back. And they knew already. I don't have to explain it or anything like that. And that has brought so much peace to myself and to them as well, to the people that surround me, because I don't longer have to talk about it. I don't longer have to tell them, I don't know what's going on with me. I feel like I'm going to die, dramatic. Finally, I don't have to I haven't done that in so long.
That's awesome.
That's it. They already know. I don't have to tell anyone. And the only time that I speak about it is if someone invites me to do, to talk about Sjogren syndrome, or if I want a Sjogren syndrome month and stuff like that, then I'll talk about it. But I don't have to anymore. And I'm so happy about it, because it has helped me tremendously as well to not think about it as much. Whenever I have a flare, I'm like, oh my God, okay, I guess it'll go away. I'll write it until it goes away. And that's what I do. I lay in my bed, get all my sheets, get my sweaters that I have to get in, put some TV and like a comedy, because that will, something that makes you laugh is actually very good for your flares. Put a comedy and I just start laughing and until it goes away. And then I'm like, okay, I'm better now. That's the best way, is to stop talking about it, because they will get annoyed too. And I understand, they will get annoyed if I kept talking about it. So I'm happy. And that is a great way to heal yourself.
That's awesome. I love that for you. We are coming up to closing. What are some of the resources that you can give our viewers and listeners to study up, do a little bit more research on the Sjogren syndrome, is it? I want to make sure I'm saying it right. And whether that's podcasts that you follow, websites, books that you've read, to manage that condition.
One of the things that I would recommend for people doing is going to the Sjogren Foundation. If you go to Google and you write the Sjogren Foundation, you will see the page there, and they have a lot of resources for you to read in regards to what is Sjogren, what are people suffering from, what are they doing to get better. There is a marathon as well that people run for Sjogren syndrome. And it's not only Sjogren syndrome. I recommend people to actually look at autoimmune disorders. because like I mentioned earlier, a lot of them have similar side effects or flares and stuff like that. And you want to make sure that if you know that about one, you kind of already educating yourself from the others, even if they're different.
Mhm.
For books, not necessarily a book on Sjogren, because if you already research on what Sjogren is, I think that the books that people should read, I don't have in the top of my head titles, but it should be about managing stress,
Mm. Okay.
about time management. Time management is super important. How to manage your time, because you need to manage your time. What are you going to do with your family? What are you going to do at work? And you need to manage nap time, relax time. I have nap time every day. I manage it is 10 minutes. Some of them are 5 minutes. Some of them are 20 minutes. You have to have it throughout the day so you can get your energy, because people with autoimmune disorder, most of us, not a lot of us, but I mean, most of us, not everyone, but do suffer from lack of energy.
Mhm.
Um, so I suggest that read about vitamins, and this is mostly for people that actually do have autoimmune disorders, because vitamins do help. And I think you have mentioned that earlier. Um, Vitamin D, omega 3s, that can also help you get some of the energy back when you have a flare. So I've been doing that as well. If you educate yourself, you are going to understand your illness a little bit better, but also for those that don't have it, you're going to understand those around you that have that illness. And trust me, people that have this illness, we don't mean to be whiny, we don't mean to be
Mhm.
stressing anyone out, but it's a very difficult thing to manage. And once we have managed it, no matter what, we're going to still live with this forever. Even if
Mhm.
flares are reduced, we're still going to have flares for a very long time. So
Mhm.
just have that in mind, and that's why it's important for you to educate yourself.
I think that's a very, very great point. Is the whole education part, and it's again leading up to the more educated you are, the more compassion you can have for someone that's in your family and or your community who has this condition. But that's why I also wanted to have you on the podcast, was just to bring the awareness, because if it's not you, it's probably someone in your family, and if it's not someone in your family, then it's someone in your circle. Because I might not know anyone with Crohn's disease in my immediate family, but maybe my niece has it. Now that you're talking about the conditions, I'm like, does my niece have this? Does my
Mm-hmm.
prima have this? Is this why she acts this way? Or is this why she's, maybe always resting and not being lazy? So being aware, and then that way you can help out that person, because they might not even know that they have this condition. They might not even have the vocabulary for it. The person who helped me was a friend of mine who had me kind of write down my symptoms in a calendar, and then my therapist being like, oh, you have such and such thing because of this notebook that you were taking notes on with your body changing and you feeling highs at a certain time of the month, lows at a certain time of the month. So the fact that, it took a team to get this done, but now I can help other women that are in my circle, that are not in my circle, just because of the fact that I'm aware now. And so the fact that now we're aware of Crohn's disease, it could be someone, not you specifically, but it could be someone in your family, and you don't even know that they don't have the language.
True.
So that's why I just think exposure and awareness and education is a great thing. Felicita, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast, for being able to talk your journey, your experiences, how you are managing everything. Shout out to our nap times as well. It was funny because my girlfriend Ilona, one time when I had met her a few years ago, and she had talked about nap time, and I was just coming out of corporate America, and I was like, nap time, do you know what I could do within those 20 minutes? Are you kidding me? Like, never. I remember, like, girl, like, you crazy. And now that I am out of corporate America and like doing the entrepreneurial journey, like, how did I survive without naps? So shout
Oh,
out to our naps,
very
because
important.
yes, they are important. How can our listeners and our viewers keep up with you, follow you? Or first, let us know what's the newest thing that you're working on, and then the release date, and then let us know how we can keep up with you on the social medias.
Yes. So I am working on something very interesting with
Ooh.
Latinas in Cyber. Just be on the lookout on my LinkedIn page. You can find me, Felicita Sandoval. We are soon to post some really cool news, so I don't want to really give it up here. Um, I'm also, you can also find me on Instagram, the AI researcher. I usually post educational posts about cybersecurity, about AI, GRC, and all that fun stuff. And you can, one thing that I wanted to leave with is that for those that are suffering from autoimmune disorders, from Sjogren Syndrome, and you're kind of questioning your life in the sense of, am I able to reach my goals? I might have to take a step back, and am I gonna stay like this forever? And the answer is no. You have to be positive, connect with people like me, like Giovanna, that have gone through this and are going through this. You are going to be able to move forward. You are going to be able to accomplish your dreams. Do not stop accomplishing what you want to do just because you have this disorder. I know that a lot of the times we get depressed and we never, we think that that's it. We're going to stay in that hole. That's not true. So please do follow up with us. Like I said, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, and feel free to reach out as well.
Yeah. I love that closing statement, because it is true. You get into a depressive state, and that hole just keeps on getting darker and darker and darker. And the fact that you are willing to have folks reach out to you, and I as well, that please do not take that for granted. Sometimes it's the network and your community that will help you get through, whether it's the next day, the next hour, the next few months. You don't have to go through the journey alone. It's a very lonely journey. So if you are able to have a support system, Felicita, thank you for reminding our listeners that they can reach out to you or myself, because we know this long road.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do.
All right. Well, again, Felicita, thank you so much for being on here. We are so excited that you were able to drop some gems to our listeners as well as viewers. For all of those who are listening, thank you so much for joining. If you are able to give us a review, 5 estrellitas por favor, on Spotify and or YouTube, we would greatly appreciate it. If you want to get a hold of us and join our community, we have one on Facebook, which is Making Leader Moves, as well as on Instagram. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send them our way to makingleadermoves@gmail.com. Gracias once again, and I will catch you on the next episodio. Abrazos, besos y cariño, familia. Until next time, ciao.